Welcome back to the Your Health television program, hosted by the Monterey County Health Department. I'm Emily Sciolto, your host today, and just about every third Monday of each month. I'm here now with my third and final guest, Dr. Lisa Hernandez, the Monterey County Deputy Health Officer. She'll be talking with us about the new tanning law. Welcome, Dr. Hernandez, and thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Emily, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. So, Dr. Hernandez, Senate Bill 746 prohibits persons less than 18 years old, less than 18 years of age, from using ultraviolet tanning devices such as tanning beds unless prescribed by a physician or a surgeon. And they must show proof of age containing a date of birth and a photograph prior to using a tanning device. That struck me in ways I can't describe. What's the purpose of this new law?
Well, simply put, it's to protect children, youth, from the harmful effects of UV radiation or indoor tanning. And indoor tanning is really using devices such as tanning booths, tanning lamps, and beds to get a tan. And it's actually, the California Senate Bill 746 is the strictest law in the country for protecting youth. As you mentioned, you can't get a tan artificially if you're under the age of 18. And in some states, and prior to this bill, California, you could get a tan if you were 14 to 18 if you had parents' permission. Well, now you can't. The only way that you could use tanning devices or phototherapy is for medical reasons, and that would be in a physician's office or in a medical setting. Other than that, it's not allowable. And I mentioned that the UV radiation is harmful, and it's due to the fact that the effects of UVA and UVB radiation, which I'll talk about in a minute, cause cancer. They cause cancer such as skin cancers such as melanoma, which is the deadliest form. It causes squamous cell carcinoma, which is another type of skin cancer, and something that some of us may not think about, but skin cancer of the eye. And I don't know, folks that have ever used a tanning device know that they're told to wear protective devices, and that's to protect your eyes from damage, including the cancer of the eye. So that's the main reason for the law, and I'm really happy that we're doing it because the effects of UV radiation are cumulative, which means that you're starting out young. If you're 14 starting to tan, that's going to affect you over the lifetime.
I guess, yeah, it struck me because I think about tanning, I think about when I have tanned personally, and I think, well, obviously before dances, before the junior ball, the senior, dance and everything, and I think, wow, those are the primary reasons why I've had to tan, and this, I was definitely under 18 at those times, and this, is going to impact their preparations for those days, and it just struck me as that's a large, probably a majority of their business there.
Yeah, it's going to be a mind shift. I think it's going to be a shift for the business owners, as well as you mentioned, the general public, and it's about education. So I'm glad that we're talking about it today, and us realizing that it does more harm than good.
And even though you may not be able to tell because you have a bronze tan, that it's actually it may be tanning you, but it's not doing good things for you.
Yeah. I'll say that I remember when I was younger, and yeah, granted, I am a little browner than you. Tanning was in, and it was a big thing for us to know that you're not supposed to use certain types of things to tan. And I don't know if you remember the copper tone girl.
Suntan lotion, isn't it?
Yeah, it is suntan lotion. But that was one of the things they showed the little girl. Her bare bottom was a little dog would show her bare bottom, and it showed her before and after kind of a tan, and that was supposed to be a good thing to have a tan. And it was a little girl.
Wow.
It was a little girl on these ads. So, yeah, it's definitely a shift that we're going through.
Yeah.
And this law helps us make that transition even more.
I think so. So how does the damage happen, and why does it put youth at increased risk for future cancer or skin injury?
So here's the thing that you may not know. A tan is really the body's reaction to an injury, to an insult. So your skin is exposed to radiation, the ultraviolet radiation or UV radiation, and the cells of the skin feel like they've been attacked, and it's the body's response, immune response to the sun or to UV radiation. In this case, if we're talking about tanning, indoor tanning, and cells called melanocytes are these special cells in our skin that give us pigment, melanin. And the melanin is produced by the melanocytes. These, I won't get any more technical, and it's in response to the UV radiation to kind of protect us in the future. So our skin gets darker, and that protects us for future times that we're exposed to UV radiation, but it's also it's a sign of damage, of the effects. And I mentioned UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation, and there's two types. And it's UVA and UVB radiation. And both of those forms are found in sunlight, as well as all the tanning devices that people are using when they tan indoors. UVA, UVB is the type of radiation that goes to the superficial layer, so that's what we see when we get a sunburn. So I think of, for me to remember, I think UVB, burn.
Okay.
And it's the superficial layers of our skin that get affected. And UVA is deeper layers, and it causes allergic reactions. So the A is allergic. So I have to remember these things, but that's how you think about it. But both types of radiation are harmful to us, and they're found both in tanning bed, tanning devices, as well as the sun. And reason why we're focusing on children in particular, as something I mentioned already, is that it's a cumulative effect. So the more and more you're exposed to it, the more damage our cells are exposed to, and it gives you a greater chance for getting skin damage, such as skin cancer. So the younger you are, the higher risk. You know, if you tan before the age of 35, you have a 75% increased risk for getting skin cancer than someone who hasn't tanned at that early age.
Wow.
So it is something that we worry about, and you know, as you say, tanning, people do it because it's socially acceptable, but it is really our body's response to damage, to an injury, which is exposure to UV radiation.
It almost seems like a bruise. It's our body's way of bruising from the sun.
Yep.
Rather than being, hit or something and you get black and blue, you get sunned or UV rays and you get a little bruised in a different way.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking it. No one else would probably think about it that way, but it's true. It's our body's self-defense.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and it's the cumulative risk. See, that's something I don't think that I understood, and something that most miss as well. It's the cumulative effects. Even though you can't tell, like we mentioned, that it's happening, it is, and the older you get, the more you will be able to tell.
Yeah, and what we see too is that some people think that, if you tan at the tanning salon or use a booth, that you're going to protect yourself from, get like a base tan, I guess that's what they say, and you prime yourself. It's not. It's no matter where you're getting your tan or wherever you're getting your exposure, it's accumulating and causing your cells to respond in this way.
So before I go on vacation in March, I'm not going to be tanning, am I?
No.
Oh.
So if you forget, I'll put that in my little reminder before you go. I'll say, don't forget, use your sunscreen.
Gotcha. Okay, so that is definitely a myth. That you do not need to, prime your body and tan indoors before going on vacation or something to avoid a burn.
Right.
Either way, you're tanning and you're exposing yourself to radiation and you're bruising, your skin.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think we'll talk later about some of the things or excuses or other reasons why people go to a tanning booth, and that's something I'll mention again, is that it's definitely a myth to kind of prep yourself for extreme sun exposure if you're going on a trip, you're hiking outdoors, whatever you're doing. So
That's not going to be doing that.
No.
So you've mentioned also cancer and melanoma being one of those cancers, and skin damage as being the leading risks of tanning and UV radiation exposure. But what are some of the other risks, the other things? What does skin damage mean exactly?
Well, skin damage basically is the response of the skin to UV radiation exposure. And actually some of the things, the changes that we see, a lot of people thought were due to aging. Now, I'm getting old, I'm bruising easily, I'm getting old, my hands are wrinkled. Those things are more likely due to sun exposure, UV radiation exposure, than to just getting up in age. So we see changes in the skin, thickening of the skin. You see, and a lot of times you mention you motion like this, but actually also back of the neck, because especially with guys or women that keep their hair up or in ponytails and they have the sun hitting them in the back, you may see that. Now you'll probably
wear my hair down every day.
Wear your hair down, but also check it out. See what you see. And if you see someone with that thickening in the back of the neck, I mean, it could be due to the excess sun exposure to the neck. We also see some other things that people think of are due to aging. You know, the thinning of the skin on the hands or other places, and bruising easily. That can be due to exposure, changes due to sun exposure or UV radiation. Liver spots, freckles, again, UV radiation. It's not just because you're getting older. Other things, I don't know if you've ever seen folks with red marks on their faces that look like little broken blood vessels. That's what they are. The blood vessels are a little more exposed. Maybe the skin is thinner in that area, but also you see the breaking of blood vessels. And those changes are also can be due to UV radiation exposure. So that's kind of what the skin changes are for sun exposure. And some of them are linked to some of the other things that we see due to UV radiation exposure, like premature aging and the wrinkles, eye damage. I talked a little bit about that before. Immune suppression. So your immune system gets kind of lowered because of the exposure to the radiation. So you think, oh, I want to go. I'm looking at your face and you're like, oh, crud.
No.
I thought there had to be something good about it. But that's the thing, is that it can decrease your immune response. So your body isn't going to be as strong enough to get rid of that cold or whatever that you may have, because the immune cells aren't working as good as they could, because one could be because they're responding to the sun. I told you earlier that tanning is an immune response, so it's working on something else, and the body's working on another injury and doesn't have the same ability to protect you against other things.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there anything good that you're gonna tell me? Is there? No, I mean, what about vitamin D? What about skin, cosmetic skin conditions like eczema or something? I've heard, dermatologists prescribe, recommending their patients to go to tan to remedy any of these things. Any benefits of tanning at all?
There are benefits to tanning and UV exposure. You mentioned the fact that a doctor would suggest you go to get tanned. That's still, under this new law, we're still able to do that. It has to just be in a medical setting with a physician who's certified, accredited to do it by the California Medical Board's standards.
Oh.
So it can be done. It does help with acne. Actually, my son will kill me if I say this, but we went to Florida for the holidays, and when we came back, he's like, how come my pimples came back? And we had been back a week, and I'm like, well, because of the UV radiation. He did wear sunblock, but it was that different. So there is some purpose for it. Talking about vitamin D, that we do know that UV radiation helps increase your absorption of vitamin D, which is helpful for bone health because vitamin D is needed to absorb calcium, which is going to help your bones stay stronger. But what we know about the UVA and UVB radiation that you get through indoor tanning is that it's inconsistent. We don't know how much you're getting. It varies from person to person. It varies from facility to facility. So bottom line, safer to get your vitamin D through food and vitamin supplements.
Okay, so that's no longer an excuse either.
Nope.
Is I have a shortage of vitamin D, I have seasonal affective disorder.
Well, you know, something like
that one?
Yes, seasonal affective disorder has been used. Again, this is something that your provider is going to regulate and administer. So it does help. It's just not something that you can just go down to your local facility
and just get a quick tan. Unfortunate, but still good to know. And that's about all the time we're going to have for today, unfortunately. I'd love to sit and talk about this a little bit more. But thank you again for participating today, Dr. Hernandez. And also a big thanks again to all my guests today. I'm Emily Sciolto from the Monterey County Health Department, and I've been your host of today's Your Health television program. Please stay tuned for Your Town television program coming up next, and thank you, and we'll see you next time.